represented this morning, and the first production is expected from Kingfisher and Tilenga blocks, where China's CNOOC and France's Total and London-based Tullow Oil have the stakes. CNOOC is the operator of Kingfisher area, while Total leads the development of Tilenga. Now, as part of the prerequisite for these oil companies to begin production, the National Environment Management Authority has received the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Report for the proposed Kingfisher Development Project submitted by CNOOC Uganda Limited. The ECR report is now available for public scrutiny and comments, and the Executive Director, NEMA, Mr. Dr. Tom Okrut, is of course there to respond to all the concern raised by communities in the Chikube and Hoima districts. The public is hereby urged to participate by reading the ECR report and to send feedback to NEMA by 15th of May 2019. But this morning we have our questions that we want to pose to the team so that they can fill us in on some of the information. And of course, joining us is Mr. Waiswa Ayazika, who happens to be the Director, Government Management and Environmental Monitoring and compliance. Thank you very much from NEMA. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Waiswa Ayazika. And Mrs. Jane Biarohanga, who happens to be the Manager, Environment Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Thank you for joining us. And well, for someone that is hearing about this for the first time, first of all, give him just a brief look at what the ECR report is all about and why they should be concerned.
Okay. Well, I'll begin by saying that carrying out of the environmental impact assessment is provided for by law. The Oil and Gas Policy 2009 Objective 8 it clearly states that oil and gas resources should be developed in a manner that does not impact on biodiversity and the environment.
Okay.
The National Environment Act, Schedule 3, requires that oil and gas developmental projects should be subject to environmental impact assessment and also the environmental impact assessment regulations. Now, in that way, CNOOC carried out environmental impact assessment for the proposed development. Now, the environmental impact assessment has evaluated a number of issues, both negative and positive.
Okay.
Okay, and that the positives we should enhance, and the negative ones we should find means of mitigating them. Now, it is looking at issues of there are a number of wells which are going to be drilled. There is a central processing facility in Chikube. Then there will also be a pipeline to transport the product to a facility in Hoima. Now, it has also evaluated issues which are a number of impacts that are likely to occur. The issues related to air quality during construction and operation, the impacts of noise and vibrations, wastes are likely to be generated, and the question is that how do we handle those wastes? Issues of communities impacted upon who may require compensation. There are issues of because water will be obstructed. We need to ensure, remember that Lake Albert is a shared lake. How do we ensure that during the extraction of the water, but even the drilling of the wells in Lake Albert, we don't impact negatively on this shared lake? And how do we mitigate? Okay, the issues of biodiversity. Okay, but there is also issues of employment, because these are areas where these are issues which need to be enhanced. So the environmental impact assessment is quite comprehensive and has covered a number of areas, and that's why we wish the public to come out and make as much input as possible to enable the Executive Director of NEMA make an informed decision.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Let's look at the Kingfisher Development Project and the people in Chikube district. The communities around where all this pipeline is going to go through. What does it mean for them?
Thank you. The people of Chikube, where the pipeline will be, maybe to just get the project into context, we have the Kingfisher Development Area, which will have 4 well pads drilled down in Buhuka, in Chikowe, and we shall have the CPF as the director guided. Now, the pipeline is a 46-kilometer pipeline running right from Chikowe through about 20 villages to Kabale area. So in Hoima, we have about 5 villages affected by the pipeline, and then the rest are within Chikowe district. So the people living within this area are going to have benefits of employment, like he mentioned earlier, also services and goods provided to the project. We have what we call direct benefits they will get, like direct employment, people who will be welding the pipeline, digging up the trenches to ensure that the pipeline is in place. But also we have the induced impacts, the induced benefits. For example, if I'm not working on the pipeline, the people of the pipeline must eat food. So the farmers will benefit from this pipeline. People of the pipeline must have hotels, must have where to sleep. So people, the hoteliers will also be benefiting. The communities will be benefiting in terms of increased revenue. The district itself to be levying some taxes. So it will be kind of a positive benefit. Maybe just to mention to the Ugandans that whoever will be providing services and goods into this project, say if I'm providing food to the project, I'm providing water to this project, I must be registered on the National Supplier Database, which is at the PA, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. It's a free service. You log on to the website and apply, fill in if the forms, follow the prompts. So all suppliers of goods and services of this project must be registered on the National Supplier Database.
The people in that community have had their concerns. They have been raised. They have talked of, he aired out pollution. They have talked of air pollution, that is, water, and the land as well. Have you addressed any of these concerns that they have raised?
Well, as I mentioned, that the report which was submitted identified those impacts, and has also proposed mitigation measures, how they will be handled. But beyond the mitigation measures, there is a process of monitoring, okay? And those have been addressed. And in terms of monitoring, remember there are various levels of monitoring, in that SINOC itself will be required to monitor itself, but we have the government agencies that will be doing monitoring. In there, we have also, beyond the individual government agencies, we have a multi-sectoral committee made up of various agencies, which has a number of levels. At the policy level, we have executives, we have operational, we have a technical level, and we have an operational level of staff who will be based in the field to carry out regular monitoring. So, I believe with that kind of setup, we'll be able to handle those issues. Yes.
The project is right next to, all around Lake Albert, and there has been concerns of habitat degradation and you know, the ecosystem being affected. What would you say about that? Because you know, environmentalists and you know, all those concerned, and the people in the region as well would be concerned about that.
Well, those issues indeed have been identified, that it has those potentials. Now, one of the issues to look at is beyond. How do we reduce that like potential negative impacts? One of the issues is the kind of technologies which are being used.
Yes.
Then, in terms of alternatives, is also how do we reduce the footprint? Okay, how many people do we allow in at a certain time? So, it is correct to say it is a very ecologically sensitive ecosystem, but we took a decision that oil must come out of there. So we are using the most best available technology to ensure that the impacts are minimized. Well, where possible, even they are avoided. Yes.
Okay. Of course, with such a project, it's going to affect the lives of the people in the area, and the traditional ways of life in the area, because of this development, because of all these projects that are coming in. Communities are being displaced because you know their compensation. You have to pay people to move out of where the pipeline is going to take place and move them away from that. Do you have any arrangement within the community to make sure that you don't leave many there disgruntled and against the pipeline, which is supposed to benefit the country and them as well?
Yeah, We actually have undertaken what we call a resettlement action plan in this area. Currently, where the 4 well pads will be drilled, that area has been acquired. On top of that, we are now doing what we call the livelihood restoration programs. So if someone is going to be displaced, so if their land has been taken, to begin with, the ESIA informed the RAP quite a lot, because we try to avoid areas that are overpopulated with people, so you're minimizing the footprint in terms of how many people you're actually moving. But the people who are being moved are going to be benefiting from things like financial literacy. To begin with, we take them through financial literacy before actually they are given the money, because sometimes you're paying someone money that they've never seen the amount. So that to show them that do not misuse this money, this is what you should use it for. We give them certificates, whoever completes the financial literacy course. And then we've also embarked on things like livelihood restoration, which include agricultural programs, beehiving, fish farming, tree planting. So it's kind of going to take on a bit like 5 years during the monitoring that Mr. Weiser talked about. Okay. So as you're displacing the people, we've also taken care of the fact that we are going to give them livelihood restoration programs, so that we restore their lives to what they were, or much better than what they were.
Well, with this project, there's always a worry that in case of any accident, in case of any sabotage attacks on the infrastructure there, it could affect the people and the environment, and the people, that whole society that is surrounding the project. Do you have any plans to handle this in case it happens? We are, of course, not wishing for it to happen, but in case it does?
Well, there is already an established mechanism coordinated by the Office of the Prime Minister, because they're in charge of handling emergencies. And under this, there are various institutions which have been given responsibilities. Now, for instance, in the case of an oil spill, assuming it was to occur, one, we have developed a comprehensive oil spill contingency plan, delineating the responsibilities of various institutions. One is that, for instance, if there was an oil spill, oil companies themselves are required to have they were supposed to have a contingency plan. Beyond that, under the Office of the Prime Minister, with the coordination of various institutions, you have, for instance, Ministry of Defense, you have the police, then you have all the other government agencies. That, so in case an emergency was to occur, there is already a plan out how this will be handled. Okay, you know whom to call upon. For instance, Ministry of Defense, and the police, they've got, for instance, helicopters. In case there is a trigger, immediately, first of all, the oil companies will have equipment. But then there is a trigger immediately from all these other institutions be mobilized to move in and contain that. So there is already an established mechanism of how to handle any such contingent, any such emergencies in case they occur. But also, you need to emphasize that the development themselves have been made in such a way that really, like we are saying, this is in the unlikely event, because they are quite robust. The infrastructure is quite robust, the proposed infrastructure is quite robust and well protected to mitigate against such occurrences. But if they are to occur, as I said, there is already a coordination mechanism of how to intervene under such situations. Okay.
Let's talk compensation. The people in the area, of course, their concern will be, our land is being taken, we are being displaced. Has the cases of compensation been entirely done? Have they been dealt with entirely? You don't have any complaints of people being moved and not compensated. Has that process been entirely exhausted?
The process of compensation has been quite comprehensive. It's not a matter of just picking the land or giving the people money, and it's not entirely, say, SINOC or the Petroleum Authority of Uganda doing this. This is being done together in conjunction with the Ministry of Lands, specifically the Chief Government Valuers Office, but also the local governments. For example, in Hoima, we've been working a lot with the Hoima local government, district government, and also the Chikube district authorities, and a number of committees have been set. First, we have a committee at the technical level, and also we have a committee that we call the resettlement planning committee, and this also has representatives of the project affected persons. But at the district level, they've also formed the district resettlement committees. Now, these committees work hand in hand with the contractor, with CINOC, with PAU, with Ministry of Lands, to first of all go through the land that will be acquired, disclose to the project affected persons, so these people know exactly how much land will be taken, how much they expect. You even have a grievance mechanism that if someone is not happy with the compensation, they can always appeal to these district committees. And I must say that the Kingfisher area has resolved almost 90% of their grievances.
Okay.
And about 90% people within the Kingfisher area have actually been compensated. So it's, and of course when you're getting land, it's not like you'll get 100% no grievance. You get 1 or 2 grievances, but all mechanisms have been put in place that the grievances have been actually addressed, and others are being addressed with time.
Like you said, some of these people are getting money that they have never seen before. Some of them are just get new monies. Is excitement. Do you really have a proper plan for them to? Of course, you can't stop someone from spending their money. It's their money. You know, you've taken their land in the first place. They didn't want you to take it. So if you've given me the money, I should use it the way I want. But with all these projects that are going to be around, there is need for them to be part, because later on there's going to be very many people of businessmen in Kampala who are going to apply to be part of the service to these projects, and later on you're going to have cases and arguments of these people from Kampala have come up and taken all the business here. Now we don't have anything to do, yet this is in our area. Have you taken or educated them enough to know that when you get this money, instead of spending it to go to the village and have everyone drink on it, you can come up with a structure, a hotel, or you can apply to make sure that you are part of the companies that are going to provide services to these projects?
Yeah, thank you. What we've actually done is that, just like I said, we take them through the financial literacy program. So we first of all train them how to handle money, what to do.
Is that by default?
Yes. All the project affected persons.
No, can someone say, well, I don't want to be part of that? What do you do?
We don't force them, but we use stakeholder engagement.
Okay.
So we engage them as many times as possible, and we undertake them. We ensure that all PAPs have undergone the financial literacy. But in addition, we've also encouraged the oil companies that we have what we call the local content policy. So you must get goods and services first within the community. For example, we don't expect tomatoes that they will use to be got from Kampala or a Kampala businessman providing this. So we first of all also have done a survey on what goods and services can be provided by the companies.
And given priority
to them.
Okay.
Secondly, just as I mentioned, the national supplier database that they must be registered on before they actually supply. You must have been seeing around that the national content team has been in Hoima, they've been camped in Kuchikowe, we've had in Bulisa, whereby over 594 entities or people actually registered to get onto the national supplier database. Okay. And this database is accessible by all the oil companies, so there's no excuse that I did not see this up. And also, on top of that, we've had a number of trainings of these people, both communities and the districts.
When it comes to oil and oil drilling and all that, there's a lot of manpower that is needed. Do you have any arrangement to train the people in the area as well, so that you're not just getting people from Kampala who have studied oil and have gone, the privileged ones that have traveled to Canada and the USA to learn all this drilling? You have lawyers in the area. Have you taken an initiative to train some of these that could, come in and do some of that work?
Yeah, you'll be surprised actually. We have so many people from the area that have all these qualifications. Scholarships have been being given over the years by the oil companies, by government to go and study this. But I must say that we have also introduced what we call the National Oil and Gas Talent Register. This National Oil and Gas Talent Register is a free service for any Ugandan with any qualification to actually come and register yourself. It's kind of a one-stop center that you can go get all the Ugandans that are qualified to supply in this sector. And the statistics actually show that we have a number of people within the region that have actually put their applications there. So they are there and they've actually been trained
Wow. The expectations, Ugandans, and of course in the area as well. Are we going to meet these expectations? Because you know there's a lot that we have heard of all the countries that have oil and the development that they have and that has happened in those countries. Should we lower our expectations? Should we keep our expectations high? Where should we put our expectations, especially with the production set to start in 2022?
Maybe to kickstart that discussion, I would say that I think Uganda has taken time to study what has happened elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, from the time the discoveries were made, almost a decade ago,
Yeah.
Uganda has taken time to put in place a robust regulatory policy, really to ensure, to look at what has happened elsewhere, and to see how we minimize what has. I mean, because for instance, you have cases of Nigeria, where right now there's a lot of civil strife because of, you know, the environment was destroyed, people did not get the benefits. Here we have put in place a robust system, okay, and a regulatory framework which will ensure that those things are minimized. So my view is that unfortunately maybe I believe government will be able to meet what is possible.
Okay.
As far as oil production is concerned. Certainly not everybody will be driving a car like everybody thinks that because oil has come to our region, we are all going to have this. But I think the revenue, like the president has already said, I think the revenue that will come in will go towards meeting some of the priorities of government. One, of course, improve the services, okay? If you have improved services, that means road infrastructure, education, hospitals, or even improved salaries, okay, of those who are working. So I believe we should be positive as far as this project is concerned.
Okay, thank you very much. Earlier on you said that under the law it is required for the ECA, but does it require hearing as well?
Now, before we get the hearing, I think it's important to understand where we have come from before that.
Okay, very fast.
Like we mentioned that SINOC submitted the environmental social impact assessment.
Okay.
It has been reviewed by NEMA. It has been reviewed by various lead agencies who have made their input to NEMA. There has also been a multi-sector review in this process. Now, it has also been put out to the public. Okay, and the public has
the public hearings now.
The public has made their comments. Now, in reviewing all these comments, and also bear in mind that this project has got potential for transboundary impacts. Therefore, and to ensure that nobody is left out, especially the community, so that we were not consulted, we are not informed. So there is a proposed public hearing to ensure that as more
everyone has their say.
Everyone has their say, and the comments thereafter will enable the executive director of NEMA to make an informed decision about the environment and social issues related to this project.
Okay. Any last words before we let you go? Is there anything that you feel we haven't addressed that you need to let the people out there know concerning this project as a last remark? Yes.
There will be the public hearings for Kingfisher Development Project held in June. We shall be having 2 public hearings, one on the 19th of June 2019, and that will be held at Remisanga Primary School in Changwari District, and the next one will also be on the 21st of June 2019 at Kabale Public Primary School. So we urge the public to please be there and also to send in your comments.
Okay.
But one last one is that
yes.
As was when they published in the papers, that the public was given an opportunity to send in their comments. Today, 15th, is the last day when we are supposed to receive comments. So we urge the public as much as possible, please take this initiative and be heard. So please send in your comments to the executive director of NEMA.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Jane Biaruhanga, the Manager, Environment Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and Mr. Waiswa Ayazika, the Director, Environment Management and Complacency in NEMA as well. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we hope to hear from you very soon. Kabale is quite far, but we'll try. and see if we can
Kabale
make it
in
for
Please be there.
Kabale, not Kabale.
Yes.
Kabale.
And
Yes,
please be there.
we will come, hopefully. Thank you very much. That is what we had for our Kickstarter conversation. In case you have any comments or your contribution, you can do that. The hashtag is morning@ntv across all social media platforms. And of course, after this, we have Stephen Bide, who is out on the roads. He will be updating us on how the traffic looks on the roads right after this.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Ramadan Minute is brought to you by
NTV.
Assalamu